Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of New to Weeaboo. This is number 34 for November 18th, 2020. I'm Nemesis, and I'm joined by Alcatraz here.
Hello.
Yes, let's see. World of anime stuff. I'm trying to think what was going on. I can't actually think of anything particularly notable about anime this week.
Nothing notable about anime.
Nothing notable anime. Lots of other notable things have been happening.
Yes, in the world in general.
Yeah, so we actually now have a better, much clearer picture of what's going on there.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a thing. We're getting a 46th president.
Yep. Someone's gonna be another one-term president.
Another one-term president. Only the fourth one to be impeached.
Yep.
But anyway, so we're not here to talk about that stuff. We're here to talk about anime. This time we're actually talking about actually somewhat older anime now. It's Panty and Stalking with Garterbelt.
Yeah, it was 2010.
Yes, it came out in late 2010, actually for the fall season of 2010. So it's actually been 10 years. It's its 10th anniversary, essentially, when we're roundabouts when we're talking about it.
Yep.
But it also happens, hey, look, episode 34. Haha. It's either this or 69.
Yeah, I guess 34 works.
Yep. Yeah, this is a Studio Gainax, of course, as you know, they're mostly known for Evangelion.
Hey.
Yeah, what here is basically, essentially a sex comedy with action elements.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
That's what it is, and it's also very much designed to emulate Western cartoons. That was very much their thing. They were emulating Western cartoons.
Yeah,
particularly adult Western cartoons.
although similar style and some not adult as well.
Yeah,
like it harkens back to a lot of the design that I would expect from, like Powerpuff Girls. Very similar sort of the weird flat, except it's also sort of edgy as well.
Yeah, I know.
It was quite popular at the time.
Yeah,
similar styles.
But yeah, they're very much emulating Western animation style with this, and including not only just in style, but also things like, hey, we actually have title cards, which isn't really a common thing anymore in anime, and it's each episode split in two. Usually, one every episode. Some of them split more, but
yeah, there's a couple that are just a single, and there's the last one which is split in two, but it's a two-part.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
You got that whole thing. But anyway, it's about Panty and Stalking, two angels who have been kicked out of heaven and have to earn their way back by killing ghosts.
Yep.
And each ghost drops a heaven coin. They have to save up enough heaven coins to get back into heaven.
Some drop more than one.
Yeah, something like that. And some of them drop worthless heaven coins, turns out. They bring more or less, but led by, I guess, Garterbelt, who's a priest who basically tells them to go out and get ghosts.
Yep.
And that's the anime in a nutshell, essentially. Other stuff happens, obviously, but there isn't really necessarily an overarching plot per se.
No, and one doesn't really start. I mean, they start to get the semblance of one.
Like, very, very late.
In the very, very end, you have, like, a few episodes that have an arc to it, but that's about it.
Yeah, pretty much. For the most part, every episode, it's about, again, Western cartoons, kind of most episodes are very standalone.
Yep.
Yeah, because there's one episode that ends pretty much the problem unresolved, and that's just how it ends.
Yep.
Yeah, there's also other characters like Chuck, the dog thing.
The dog thing. That was obviously styled after Gurr.
Yes. Zippers, green.
Yep.
There's also Brief, who's a boy who's he's also known as Geek Boy, because he's a geek.
He's a geek.
And he also has a huge crush on Panty.
So does everyone.
Yeah, but him in particular, just, yeah.
Yeah.
That's very probable. And of course, there's villains, the ghosts themselves, which take on various forms. Usually they're, some sort of like, they take on the hopelessness or the revenge or
some
grief,
sort of representation of
grief, anger, whatever, of some concept.
Yeah, some concept or person or something like that.
And partway through the series, we get introduced to the Damon sisters, Scanty and Knee Socks.
With their sidekick, Fastener.
Yes, who's a weird brat thing.
Yeah.
With zippers and is pink. And eventually we find out they work for Corset, who's another demon, who's the counterpart to Garterbelt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also the mayor of the city.
So anyway, this anime is very crude. And
very much so.
And yeah, it doesn't pull its punches on some stuff. It's Also, for me, rewatching it, it's kind of a mix. I have mixed feelings on it a bit. There's a lot of stuff I didn't really catch on to the first time around because I watched it way several years ago. And yeah, some stuff's not kind of more like, oh wow, I can't believe I didn't notice that the first time, or I didn't really care last time. Stuff like that. Because it does have a couple problems. I think there's 3 in particular I think stand out more than anything else. The number one is the design of a lot of black characters kind of comes off as a bit of a racist caricature.
Yeah.
Because of the big pink lip thing.
Yeah.
And this is one I'm not 100% sure about where, I guess, the attitude of the people making it, because it's Japan, and for a long time they were... Okay, so brief, I guess, crash course on the anime history, I guess. You got to go through, because a lot of anime was inspired, early anime was inspired by old Disney and Warner Brothers cartoons from way back in the 30s and 40s after World War II. They got their hands on it, and the thing is, they had these cartoons without any real cultural context, including the very, very intentionally maliciously racist depictions of black people in them and other non-white people, but black people. So they just emulated it without any real second thought, because they didn't have any context, so they didn't really know. This is why you have stuff like, like Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, drew like Mr. Popo the way he did.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
That one was incredibly racist depiction.
This was way back when a lot of, and since then, now the anime's kind of become more of an international product. They're more aware for the most part. And like, again, Akira Toriyama, later black characters, he did draw with less racist crap on their designs.
Yeah.
Because by that point, he knew better. But early Dragon Ball stuff and Dragon Ball Z had some questionable stuff, and granted, later stuff still has it, but it's kind of one of those weird perpetuating things, like, oh, this is based on the anime I grew up with. So yeah, and again, without the larger cultural context.
Yeah.
So you do have that weirdness.
It's one of those, like, yeah, was potentially originally born of ignorance.
Yeah.
But it's also, this was made in 2010.
But
so it's not exactly
good.
Old.
It's not exactly, you can't take exactly just the blanket excuse, they didn't know. There's a good chance, especially because these people are also the people who went on to form Studio Trigger, who are known Weeaboos.
Yeah, it's like,
they're more likely to know better.
Yeah, if this was made in 2010, and it's like...
But at the same time, this is a weird one, because I noticed a couple times there were black characters in this without the big pink lips, and there's also one time a white dude with big pink lips.
Yeah.
It's a little
I've seen that particular aspect, the large pink lips, done in general on a lot of things, not just on black people, in other forms. So I know it's sometimes just an art style.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. And again, they're also emulating Western animation, so I'm wondering how much of that... I don't want to give them any sort of blanket excuse for what that, but it's like... Yeah. I also don't want to throw them under the bus if it's like it was not really intentional.
Yeah.
So I just want to point out that that's a thing, and it's a little sketchy. Of course, the other thing is also, this is 2010, but also I remember in several US-made comedies in the live-action comedies in the 2000s just went ahead and just did blackface because, it's ironic, so it's okay now.
Yeah, it's not, by the way.
Yeah.
No excuses there.
Yeah, that was a weird thing. I was like Scrubs, for example, did it 3 times.
Wolf, which sucks because Scrubs is an amazing show otherwise.
Yeah. And that's what recently there's been a lot of, I guess, drama on the internet because, well, guess what? They, like Hulu and stuff, removed those scenes or episodes entirely.
Mm.
And it's also funny because the stars of Scrubs do their own podcast where they talk about old Scrubs episodes. They're rewatching it and talking about them. And it's Zach Braff and Donald Faison who played JD and Turk when Donald is black. And they get to those skits and go, oh, wow, I forgot we did that.
Yeah.
And they talk about, and this kind of talk about that no one really objected because we didn't really think about it because we were just kind of going with the flow of like, it's fine now because it's not really, we're pointing out that in itself it's racist so it's fine. And it's like, oh, yeah. But it's one of those, it's ironic, but it's like, it's ironic blackface is still blackface. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so this was the 2000s and like, yeah, even the US was still screwing up and it's still screwing up now, but yeah. So it's like, you can't entirely it's like you want to point it out, but you don't want to throw them under the bus entirely when,
Yeah.
Just want to point out, that's not good. And I think in general they know better because since then they haven't really done anything like this. At least these group of people, I don't remember, as far as I can remember, they haven't drawn any characters like this again. So it's like, okay.
So that was one of your issues.
That's one of them. Yeah, it's just one I have to go longer into. A second one is a couple times they used homophobic and ableist slurs. At least the translations did. I'm not sure if the original audio does in the Japanese or if that was a translation decision from Funimation back in 2010, which unfortunately, as much as I hate to say this, those sort of things were still considered somewhat acceptable at the time.
Yep. I noticed that in the translation, a couple of those
the subtitles.
Like,
so I'm not sure if this was, again, I'm not sure if this is a translation of what was, it was their slurs in the original Japanese audio, or if it was just they decided to use those in the English subtitles.
Yeah.
I have no idea I don't know which is the case. So someone did something wrong. I just don't know who. And the third thing is there is a scene that comes across as a bit male on male rape-y. And the one,
I think more than just one scene.
well, one particular I'm thinking of with the one in the one where Panty and stocking were shrunk down.
Yeah, that was probably the worst one.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing is, that's what I think of, but there's another thing where it's like one of the there's a bit of a running joke where it's implied Garterbelt's a pedophile.
Yeah, that's what I was like. It's not just that one scene.
That's what there wasn't any. The thing is, the joke there is it's a joke. It's kind of one of those edgy jokes about, because the whole scandal with Catholic priests and altar boys. So he's a priest, so let's do the joke.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the sort of joke people were making back in the 2000s and whatnot. So it's like,
still kind of happens.
Yeah.
And the Catholic priests don't help themselves recently either.
Yeah, but the people were joking about this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like one of those. I think that scene particularly stands out because it takes place after those jokes, or we already had those running jokes, so now this scene looks extra bad. Before it could have just been, it just looks like a weird pregnancy joke, but now it's now it has to take, because it's a combination of those previous jokes about Garterbelt taking a bit of an interest in Brief. It makes it look extra bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those are my biggest complaints about it. Other than that, it's like, it's a sex comedy, so there's sex stuff in it, but it's weirdly enough, most of the time, it's not really titillating or anything because of because the art style itself and how they present it.
Yeah, even though it's tagged as fan service, which it is, but it's really not as titillating as you would think. There's a couple scenes like their quote unquote transformation sequence when the art style changes for that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Overall, the super minimalistic flat colors does not.
Yeah, it's the general design of the characters as well, and whatnot. It leans harder into the comedy side of that, the sex comedy thing, than the sex side. And it was. When I said one of their big inspirations was the show Drawn Together. If you know that was a very.
I've never seen it, but I know about it.
Yeah, it was a very crude show. That did not mess around. They did some pretty dark jokes and stuff on that show too. So
didn't Tara Strong voice in that one?
Yes, she did. She voiced a slightly racist princess.
Fun.
Who also had a bisexual encounter with a black woman. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know she kept mentioning stuff like that on Twitter during the time.
Yeah, it was very dark, and it was very much one of those. It intentionally pushes it just to get a reaction out of you type things.
Mm-hmm.
And this one doesn't push as hard, but definitely pushes the line a couple times. Again, we just talked about some of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just the thing is, the main characters themselves, Panty, she's a sex maniac. She loves sex.
Yep.
And she goes off and bangs every dude that looks hot and possibly has a big package.
Yep.
And Stocking's more into just, she likes sweets. And all that
At least
stuff.
on the surface.
Yeah. She likes sweets, So she kind of she makes fun of Panty for her things. Panty makes fun of Stocking because she just eats sweets and she's gonna, she's gonna get fat, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Panty apparently doesn't like sweets at all. They're too much for her.
Yeah, doesn't like sugar. Stocking, you learn that Stocking's kind of freaky too.
Yeah, she's into some things. She's a bit of a masochist.
Yeah, she's a bit of a masochist.
Yeah, but yeah, Stalking also presents very much kind of gothic Lolita type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Where Panty's basically is your hot blonde stereotype.
Yep, but she's not dumb.
Nope, she's not dumb.
Maybe she's dumb a little bit.
Maybe just a little.
Yeah, the whole thing is the other thing about this is the protagonists are not good people. That's kind of one of this. That's one of the things about this comedy. It's like one of those kind of comedies where the protagonists are not good people. They are a bunch of jerks.
Yeah,
every single one of them. But the villain, the bad guys are just bigger jerks.
Yep.
Because Panty and Stalking are selfish and arrogant. That's one of the things. They do not care about others. They're only doing this because it helps them.
Yeah, there's a reason they're fallen angels.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're working in Detten City, which is a pun. Dettenshi.
Of fallen angel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the ghosts themselves are also kind of take on... Oh yeah, the reason their names is because... I almost forgot. Their names are all because their weapons. Panty takes off her panties and they turn into a gun. And Stalking takes off her stockings and they turn into swords. And sometimes she'll also take off her panties so that Panty has a second gun.
Yep. That's a weird one. It's like, it doesn't matter where it comes from.
Yep.
So like, any underwear turns into a gun for Panty.
Yep.
And where it comes from determines how good it is.
Yep. This one's bent.
Bent and floppy and
this one's
tiny.
This one's big, but it doesn't last very long. Yeah, that was the other thing. Of course, they made the joke about, hey, look, the Geek Boy brief actually has,
Yeah.
He's big, but
yeah, it was that one. The first time you mentioned that, it was with the one ghost, the lingerie ghost.
The lingerie run.
Yeah, lingerie run. And Panty was basically taking everyone's because she lost hers and they were all garbage. Until briefs was the last one.
Yep.
And it turned into a really powerful, like, shotgun thing.
Yeah. But only lasted one shot. Before it went limp. It's like, oh.
Oh. And the only other time that was brought up was in the creepy scene with Garterbelt.
Yeah.
Until we find out why in the finale.
Yeah, the other thing is also lots of random English cursing.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I think this part I was pretty much watching this in Japanese audio, because you can watch the English version for free completely on YouTube. But I feel like the cursing is not going to have... It's just cursing there in English, but in Japanese it's kind of extra funny because it's just
cursing
randomly.
in English. They're dropping F-bombs.
Yeah, just randomly you just hear just English cursing. Oh, okay. And again, yeah, very Western art style and stuff. Although there's that one episode, it's like the business guy who's, not very good business guy, and that just randomly from the grand majority of the episode just changed art styles for no reason other than it takes place in Little Tokyo, so now it's very Japanese art style.
Yeah.
And so you get stuff like that. It's just yeah, that was a very odd episode in general.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting, but yeah, it's just almost Panty and Stalking barely appeared in it. Yeah, so they did some kind of interesting stuff. Again, these are mostly the guys who did Gurren Lagann, and then did this, and then they broke off from Gainax and formed Studio Trigger. And you can kind of see that Studio Trigger DNA already here.
Yeah, in the in the action scenes and such like that,
and the kind of weird, irreverent tone.
And you can also tell that it's the same people based on their unusual love for Transformers.
Yeah, that one episode. That's the secret reason why we're talking about Panty and Stalking.
Of course it is. They have an entire episode just dedicated to Transformers.
It's just a homage parody thing, and I loved it. Because you get that whole episode was two ghosts. Ghosts based off the dead robots from outer space who never were able to perished in like their war and never were able to win. So infected Panty and Stalking. So you got Stalking, who becomes a fusion of Megatron and Galvatron, and then you got Panty, who's a fusion of Rodimus and Optimus.
Yep.
And they fight each other, creating more robots, and
it's so ridiculous.
I love it.
Yeah, and that's another thing. It is ridiculous. It's this whole thing, the premise and everything that happens is utterly
Yeah,
ridiculous, and that's the fun of it. That's the point.
This is not to be taken seriously.
No, don't
try
take
to
it
take it
seriously.
seriously. It's aged in some weird ways. Like some of it, I feel like doesn't work as well as why we did before, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was definitely a product of its time.
Mm-hmm. The other thing is, so again, getting back to the studio, the studio trigger DNA. Like one of the, I think, most visually impressive action scenes is the episode where they introduce the Damon sisters. Like when they fight each other, it's like, whoa, this big, long sequence. Like, okay, let's just go way over the top here.
Yep. And it really shines. And that's some place from here all the way to current Studio Trigger. That is really one of the places where they shine, is in their big action scenes. They're just amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then of course they also know when they got more comedic stuff, they don't have to go crazy with the animation. We're going to do weird, like very stiff, kind of goofy looking animation. Like we've used multiple times where they just all of a sudden go this weird, super chibi style for no good reason.
Yep, and the animation consists of a static sprite just sliding across the screen or something.
Yeah, and minimal stuff like maybe you'll see the head bobbing a little bit, and that's about it.
Yeah, like what they do in the ED in the credits.
Yeah.
They have that.
Yeah, also the other thing was that Edie has a good song. And so there's also some good songs, good music throughout the series.
Right. So speaking of the music, like I wasn't the opening song's okay.
Yeah.
Kind of repetitive, kind of simplistic. The ending song, that's the one I'm thinking of. It's the one that's kind of softer.
Yep.
But there's also another song that pops up multiple times throughout.
Or DCD Rock.
Yeah, that one. It's really freaking cool.
Mm-hmm.
And in one episode,
it was
a really weird episode. It's just part of it's just the music video of that song.
Yep, just the full song. Yeah, that was also a weird one because they did the thing where it's like the other two are really short. It felt like they really didn't know how to make these ideas fully fleshed out as a full episode, so they just cut them down. Okay, we'll just slap a music video in because why are Panty and Stocking tiny? I don't know. Because they fell for the Damon sisters trick. Sure, I guess. Okay. Oh
god, that whole episode was just
weird.
Also, including random it just references to weird fetishes and
Empreg.
Okay.
Woo!
Yep. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. We have Vor, Unbirthing, Empreg. How many more can we get in here?
I don't know. And also the weird the episode titles are also references of some sort to something or another, hey, like Fight Club or Pulp Fiction or High School Musical of all things.
High School Musical.
Yeah, they're Chuck to the Future. Just weird. Oh thing.
Yeah,
that was the weird one.
Those episodes were weird.
It's just following Chuck.
Yeah, it's like the episode title is a Back to the Future reference, but not the episode itself.
No, it's just Chuck being weird.
Chuck being weird, and we also find out what's inside their heads.
Yeah, little weird
demon
things.
They're demons.
Yeah, little weird demon things.
Yeah, they have demons that for brains, and apparently Fastener's demon and Chuck's demon are, a thing.
Yep, they banged.
They banged. Yeah.
Yeah. There's also this is okay. Again, also sometimes we'll randomly just switch the art style to the more traditionally anime style. To that one, particularly during transformation. Although there's one funny thing I liked during transformation sequence was their little I don't know, chant or whatever. Their little their little monologues.
Yeah, they have.
Sometimes they'll just get to the point of just kind of going through the motion, something that sort of thing.
Yeah, sometimes they don't even bother. They just whip off their respective article of clothing, which R word was I looking for, and it's there. They don't do any monologue or anything.
Yeah. So that's there's also they actually had a more or less essentially a bottle episode where it's just there were just two of them just sitting in a room. There's a static camera.
Yep, there was the bottle episode. They had a few really low budget episodes.
Yeah,
like you said, there was the bottle episode. Nothing to Room. That was a bottle episode.
Yes, that was the one I was talking about.
But they had a couple that were very much clip episodes as well, where it was just them going over
There's
Well,
one.
DC Confidential's one right after Nothing to Room was essentially a clip episode.
Yeah.
It was Scanty and Knee Socks just going over all the stuff they did before.
Yep.
It was a clip episode that set up for the finale later on.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. I started seeing those and I was like, we're saving money because we're going to go a little bit more. We're going to go get bigger in the next episodes, which is a bottle episode. The whole point of a bottle episode.
Yeah.
Save money so you can spend it later.
Yep. The Damon sisters, it's weirdly enough, they're the ones who are all, Panty and Stocking, their name is Anarchy because they're sisters, right? And then they have the Damon sisters who are very obsessed with the rules. Although they like to really roll their R's, and I have a hard time doing that.
Yeah, I can't do the back of the throat R roll. I can only do like the trill R.
You kind of do it, but it's inconsistent.
Yeah, I can't do the correct R roll.
Anyway, yeah, they do that. And they're really obsessed with rules and stuff, and like they also really hate the Angel sisters because of course they do. Because they're demons.
They're demons.
Also, that doesn't help that the Angel sisters keep ruining their plans, but yeah,
that too.
That helps thing. But yeah, I think they're pretty much have equivalent powers. One of them has can do the whole that Panties turn into guns, Stockings turn into sides actually, but
yeah, one has projectile weapons, one has blade weapons.
Yep. Yeah, and then even their names, see, because it's Scanty and Knee Socks. Yeah, see.
Yeah, see.
Those also, they honest, vaguely imply they sometimes do the incestuous thing.
Yeah, there was one
vaguely,
episode.
it's actually pretty blatant.
That was the end of DC Confidential.
Yeah.
Where they did that.
And they're also demons, so of course they do bad things. Yeah, I mean, one of the things is like they just kind of throw you in, and then like they're fighting a poop monster.
Yep.
Or
giant poop monster.
Yeah, or the one with the it's like it starts with a World War II style beach landing. And then, I get it.
Oh my god! If you're a fan of puns,
God, it just
that's
keeps going.
Your episode. It is just puns all over.
That's a weird one. Another one this is one that's kind of surprising to a degree is the one with where Stocking falls in love with a ghost.
That was an interesting
repulsive one. Because
yep.
It's like this show has no business actually pulling those emotional strings at the end of that episode that it did.
Yeah, it's like out of all of these episodes, we had that one, and it was just like,
because Stocking fell in love. This ghost was redeemed at the end because of the fact that it represents a bunch of like men's heartbreak or something like that along those lines. Men who weren't able to.
Something like that.
Yeah, so it's like, whoop, then he disappears after he proposes to her. And yeah, it's like weirdly touching for a show like this. Like this is an episode where she falls in love with this horrible, awful ghost who's just disgusting and like, what the hell is this?
What the heck is this? This is what?
Yeah, it's just a generally weird, crude, and sometimes offensive anime.
Yep.
And then it ends with the big final battle with their
the huge big final battle with.
And it turns out
monkey.
Brief has a magic penis, essentially.
Yeah, essentially.
Which can unlock a lockdown demon, which looks, also a penis. And then Stocking was gone for a while because Panty screwed up too much to get into heaven, and Stocking comes back, and
yeah.
Then
that was kind of funny.
They get their hands on Garterbelt's credit card.
Yep.
And order a whole bunch of stuff, including a big old weapon to defeat the ghost. And they pointed it backwards and shot into the sky, and then that causes the sky to light up and legs to come down.
legs
in stockings and garters and panties.
Yep.
And they're looking up. Is that Mom? Which also then steps on the giant penis monster. So yes, it was time for his dick flattening.
4 p.m.
And then they seal up the door it came out of, and that's it.
Giant zipper.
And everyone's defeated, and then and then we get a post-credit sequence where
maybe it's not.
Stocking then cuts up Panty into 666 pieces, reveals she was a demon the entire time, and then leaves with Corset, who turns out still alive somehow, and
somehow still alive.
And then we get a to be continued next season.
Yeah, and it's just like
there was never a next season.
There was, yeah. So it's like, is that final? That end credit scene is just so ridiculous. It's like, this can't be considered canon. It's like, how could Stocking even be a demon? She literally got sucked back into heaven.
Counterpoint: this show doesn't really have a canon.
I know.
Like they had an episode where everyone turned into zombies, and then no one ever figured out how to turn back. They just ended with them still zombies.
Yep. And the next episode, everyone's fine.
Yeah, don't explain it. Just but yeah, it's just apparently that was supposed to be the setup for another. There was supposed to be a second season, and that didn't happen in large part because everyone left and formed Studio Trigger. That is my understanding of things. It never happened because of that, and so people were kind of like, "Oh, that's it." And ever since then, it's been a couple times where it's like, is there ever going to be a second season? And it just never came around.
Yep. And then you wonder, it's like, can you come? Well, you could probably come back and do one at any point in time. It's not like one of those that's you missed your window.
Yeah. And there's I remember apparently there's a bit of a quote unquote fan dojin to be a second season, but it was written drawn by people who worked on the show, but they can't make it official because they no longer work with Gainax. So it's kind of this is more or less a truncated version of what we were planning for season 2.
Yep, one of those officially unofficial.
Yeah, that was those things, and that was the thing. And then on top of that, I remember there was a bit where there's a little while ago. I remember something like Gainax was in financial trouble, and there's rumblings that they're going to try to start either. Because they're going they're going to try to sell off some IPs to stay alive, or they're going bankrupt and selling the IPs would be sold off because they're going bankrupt.
Going bankrupt.
And so that was a rumbling was going around, didn't happen, but so people were then sitting there praying for Studio Trigger to be able to buy Gurren Lagann and Panty and Stocking, because those have been graduated into honorary Studio Trigger anime because it's essentially the same people.
It's the same people.
I mean, Kamina came back as Gallo, essentially.
Yeah.
It's basically the same people, so it's like they're honorary Studio Trigger anime.
Yeah. It would be definitely interesting to see if they would come back for another season if they could. Yeah, and hopefully learn from their mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah, because the theme of the anime is vulgar and indecent jokes.
Yep.
And they fell through on that.
Yes, they definitely did.
It didn't help that there's one time Gainax tweeted something out that they're teasing something new and then never actually did anything with it. I believe it wound up being like a special soundtrack release or something like that.
Oh.
And apparently there's a manga released later, but yeah. Yeah. Visually pretty, it's Triggers, or I guess Proto Trigger, so
Proto Trigger.
So yeah, it's it sounds like Chrono Trigger. But yeah, it's like, visually it does a really good job, does a good mix of like goofy, low budget, and then also super crazy, hey, let's just go all out with our action scene stuff.
Yeah. It's like every time a villain, one of the ghosts is defeated.
Oh yeah.
They switch into real
like a little puppet doll thing.
It's an actual video of a real doll exploding.
Well, not a real doll.
Not a real doll.
Fitting for the series.
It would. Actually, I think one of them was carrying something similar to that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of weird stuff.
But yeah, they use actual video footage of a doll that they blew up for whenever it defeated. So it's this weird realness in this. The legs that came down, that was an actual photo.
Yeah.
That just kind of slid into view.
Yeah.
Actual photo of legs.
And there's also the bit where Garterbelt there blew up, saying, "Oh my god," and then he comes back, just play the footage reverse of God, Mario.
Not completely reversed, but yes.
And I guess they can't die yet. Because there's the whole thing where he was like
Yeah.
not allowed to die and he's sent back in time, and now he's been living for thousands, millions of years, and
Yeah, sent back to the dinosaur age and's been living since then.
in part because he refused to. God told him to do the thing, and he's like, nah.
Yeah, that basically sums it up. It was a horrible.
And then God kept haunting him,
powerful.
do the thing. Nah.
Nah.
Fine, I'll do it.
Yep. Oh, he's finally doing the thing.
Again, mixed bag. Some stuff is a bit, I feel, a little too far, but largely, like, if you don't mind a very crass, vulgar, fun time, sure. But yeah, just be warned of the problems, including one that's just ever present, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's I think overall still worth watching, but like don't get upset if it's like you were warned.
Yeah, you be warned going into it, but it's definitely a ride.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the other thing was it turns out like hey go Brief is kind of actually trying to go hot. Haha.
Yeah, the whole one.
Yeah, and Panty's actually interested in him and wants to make him her thousandth. Not her first, no, her thousandth.
Except it was also the first because of her reasons.
Which that's based on bad understanding of how women work, but let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
There's also the other thing which I want to mention, which is like a lot of time where they're using their middle finger, not their pointer finger, to point things and do things.
Oh yeah, the middle finger comes up all the time. Oh right, can we also mention this scene after Panty loses her powers?
Yeah,
she goes to the farm.
Oh yeah, the farm thing.
Look, just
that Angel's high maintenance.
That whole scene is just what? It just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
this is the opening of the new episode. It's just, and the whole time you're going, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah,
it's just. It ends up being absolutely hilarious. Like, when the Raiders show up and shoot the other guy, and he comes back and he shoots him in the head, and he comes back and he's got this machine gun. Just completely ridiculous.
Yep.
And it turns out it was all fake because it was Garterbelt trying to get Panty to realize her inner strength or whatnot.
Yeah, some weirdness.
It was weird. It was just
the entire side of the final episode was kind of weird, including the really weird plot twist at the very end, which again just left everyone like, what? Even the characters themselves were like, what just happened?
What? Yeah, it's
fun,
definitely an interesting time. Yeah, it's fun, but be forewarned.
There is definitely some stuff which is less than great.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
Yes.
And the kind of expected for a crass 2000s or late 2000s anime, I guess, even though they're technically in 2010s, but it was very heavily influenced by 2000s crassness.
Yeah.
Which also, again, at the time, a lot of those comedies, US comedies in 2000s, were pulling that kind of crap.
Yep.
So it's not like I can't entirely blame them for doing this. It's not like we were doing much better here in the US.
Yeah.
But still, it doesn't mean it was any good. It was just meant it was considered okay at the time, even though it wasn't.
Yep.
So that's the thing, unfortunately. So I guess that's more or less it for that show. The thing is, there's no real like overarching things to talk about because of that. Then it's like you don't want to just have us talking about, oh, this scene is great. Oh, this scene is great.
Yeah, there was essentially a 3-part finale.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I did want to mention there was
long...
the episode was kind of the whole fat shaming thing.
Yeah, that one wasn't
weird
great
because it's like Stocking got fat, but also got tall because of that. But it's also because of a chemical or something put in the cakes, which are intentionally making women obese. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was it was the ghost of women, the despair of women who's trying to diet and aren't successful.
Although it did do the thing where it vaguely implied that Stocking went overboard in her dieting and looked pretty awful. And then she snapped and ate a bunch of those cakes, and I don't know.
Although I think it was also like she was dieting and it didn't work.
I don't know, but it did also, the implication was, yes, she did look bad because Panty was like, and there's
Yeah.
just the way it was the drama.
Oh
and
yeah, that
everything.
one. It was hard to tell because it was like the super black and white hard sketch
Yeah,
kind of.
but she looked like she had a gaunt face. So I'm not sure if it like one makes me wonder if that whole weight thing was partially in her head. One of those things.
Yeah.
It's just like you look at yourself, you see this horrible fat blob, and it's like, no.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a tough one to put a
But
finger
anyway,
on.
it's not great because in many ways because of the whole fat shaming thing that I covered for the other
Yeah.
one. That's somewhat a minor thing because that's still unfortunately somewhat prevalent in anime in general, and let's be real, in U.S. media as well.
Yep. Yep. It's still a problem everywhere.
Other than that, some of those problems, it does have, I think generally, for the most part, the good does outweigh the bad, but the bad is there and should be known about and not just glossed over.
Yep.
That's it. I hope you actually enjoyed us talking about this, and maybe you enjoy this anime. I mean, it is 20 years old. There's a good chance you've already seen it, or maybe you haven't. I don't know. But there's that. If you liked what you heard, you can go to weeaboo.libsyn.com if you want to see past and future episodes and whatnot. And that's also where a bunch of our other destinations are listed at the top. Because you have Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube all listed there. You can search for New to Weeaboo in any of those and find us there. You can also find us on Amazon Podcasts and search for New to Weeaboo and find us and subscribe and all that crap. It's not listed yet because, again, got to deal with that. And I also got to delist the Google Play link because that's still there, apparently. I thought I removed it because that's no longer a thing. But yeah, you can find us there if you want. And you can also, if you want to contact us, you can email us at newtoweeaboo@gmail.com. Questions, comments, anime recommendations, what you got. If you have a good one, we might go ahead and put it in the list.
The list.
And of course, you can follow us on Twitter. We're at newtoweeaboo and see us, talk about things there, announce new episodes and all that stuff. You can also follow us on our personal Twitters. I'm at Nemesis Prime 1. He's at Alcatraz717 and an underscore at the end. You do retweets of art. And I've been doing some more Transformers reviews, including a big one for me, which is Gigawatt, because it's the Transformers Back to the Future crossover. And pictures, including my car, my actual real-life car.
Yes. I guess that's it.
Join us in December, I believe. Yes, in December. We'll be talking about a somewhat recent anime, My Next Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom. That'll definitely be fun. But it's also a bit of a palate cleanser because it's a lot more wholesome in this one.
Yeah.
Actually, next few are next few are actually more wholesome than this one. So
Yay.
I won't reveal the one after that one yet, but yeah.
You have to wait till next episode to find out.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope you join us next time, and hope you have a good couple weeks, and we'll see you then.
See you then.
So bye.
Bye-bye.